How are you doing today?
It's, well, it's good. It's a good day that we've connected now. Now it's good. It turned out good. So, yeah, I'm pleased. I'm pleased to be talking with you, Nicole.
And I'm pleased to have you. I'm absolutely thrilled that we're doing this Q&A. I'm so excited. So I
Me
did not.
too.
So I didn't get any questions from the video that I posted. So I have a list of my own. And if anybody on the live has any questions that you want me to ask Jack for you, definitely put them in the comments and I will get it asked. Please, everyone, ignore the mess in my bedroom, by the way. We don't see any of this.
And please, everyone, ignore the fact that I made my bed, but not that well.
I mean, hey, at least it's clean sheets, am I right?
That's right. Absolutely clean. Very important. Like Mr. De La Mort, everything has to be extremely,
there you go.
Extremely clean.
A place for everything and everything in its place.
That's right. As a perfectionist.
I would probably give Mr. De La Mort a heart attack if he were to see my apartment. Not gonna lie.
He'll get you in line.
I am the consummate pack rat. I blame my grandmother. It's her fault.
He would keep you in line. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's okay, Scarlett. Like I said, if you want to just put your questions in here, and I will do my best to make sure they all get asked. But since there's no questions in the comments yet, let's start with one of mine, which is, what drew you to writing as a career to begin with?
Oh, okay. That's a really good question, because I actually also tutor people. I work with people who are beginner writers. I love working with writers. I think the wonderful thing about writing is that anyone can do it. It's kind of free. All you need is a piece of, if you don't even have technology, all you need is a piece of paper and a pencil. But most people have something to write with, like a computer or stuff. And it's a wonderful way to express what's inside you. I think it's just fantastic, a fantastic form that is accessible to everybody. So I'm very passionate about that question, because I'm very passionate about writing. I think writing is beautifully, like wonderfully written things are just the best way to know what's inside a person, because we never can know otherwise. And you've asked me a very specific question. My first degree was in science. So actually, and in pharmacology was my first degree.
Okay.
So I was a pure science nerd. Math was my thing, math and science. And I started writing, and I changed completely. I became a writer, and then I started writing. So what drew me is that I gave it a go, and I found I really liked it. I found it was just really freeing, and it was one of the few places you can be truly free, is when you write something. No one can tell you what to write, what not to write. You're totally free. It's like amazing.
Yeah, I love that, because, in school, when you had to do creative writing projects, there were usually all of these limitations that you had to have. But, when you're writing just for yourself, just for pleasure, or even for work, you can do whatever you want without restriction. And it's amazing to create all of these wonderful worlds.
Yes. And nothing is, you're never wrong. That's the important thing to know when you're writing something. You are never wrong. It's always right. Everything that comes out of you is absolutely 100% correct. Don't ever listen to any voices that say, no, that's no good, or whatever, that's shit. No way. It's always right. It's always coming out of you, and as long as you're being honest to yourself, then you are a writer. I encourage everybody to give it a bash. That's my thing.
I agree. I think everybody should try writing. Exactly. So we do have one question here. Fox Sings wants to know what it was like transferring the show from a staged production to an audio format.
That's also an excellent question. Now, I'll tell you exactly what it was like, because I did it. I thought it would be easy. Truly, when I said, the producers asked me to do it, they said, okay. And I went, okay, that's, it's mostly, a stage play is mostly words and whatever. And I said, oh, that should be quite easy. I couldn't have been more wrong if I thought. I started on page 1, and I realized as I was going through it, how much of a play is visual. Even though a play is wall-to-wall dialogue, it's a lot of visual component of exposition of the audience is being told something. And so as I started on page 1, I went, oh my God, I don't want this to be so heavy, full of exposition, like people saying, okay, now I'm going to close, now I'm here in the room, stuff like that, which is like, oh, so boring and heavy.
Clunky.
So I came up with the character of the narrator. And the narrator helps the listener, is an entree for the listener into the piece, into the story. So that was the solution that I came up with for radio. So it was quite a job, actually. A much bigger job than I thought it was going to be. That was my lesson. But also very enjoyable, because the narrator then became his own character. And I liked him. He started to talk in his own way to me. And I liked that as well. I thought, oh, okay, he's got his own thing happening. So he's cool. And he's going to be in any stage version now.
Yes.
So because I liked him, I started to like him. What can I do? It's like he started to have a life of his own. So it wasn't just a mechanism whereby it's for an audio piece. He became somebody, and that was beautiful.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of both the narrator from Into the Woods and the narrator in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where,
Yes.
there are these outside voices kind of breaking the fourth wall for the audience and for the characters, so the characters never have to do so. But that fourth wall is still, not exactly solid anymore because of the narrator and their role.
That's right. And it's more, in a way, it kind of is postmodern in a weird way. You know what I mean? I don't know if you know what that is. It's when you break the fourth wall, that is kind of a postmodern. So even though the thought of a narrator is a very old thing, since Greek theater, but the narrator is really the audience's voice, the audience's entree into something, into a story, into a world. So he's very important, actually. He straddles both worlds in a way.
Yes. So, okay, that was the only question we had there. So let's move on to, you're either going to love me for this question or you're going to hate me for it. Do you have a favorite piece that you have written? And if so, why is it your favorite?
Say it again, sorry.
Do you have a favorite piece that you have written? And if so, why is it your favorite?
You mean a play, or you mean a favorite piece?
Anything you've ever written.
Anything. It's a funny question, because when you've written things, they're all like your children. Each one of them, truly, and then when you put them out in the world, it's like sending them to school or something. You have to let them go, and then they got to make their own way in the universe, in the world. So each piece has something that I wanted to say, or something that I resonated with clearly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have written it. I always have something to say. And same with you guys, if you ever write something. It's whatever you've got to say about the world about what you've seen, about your thoughts about things, about your thoughts about inner thoughts, outer thoughts, political, non-political, love, death, doesn't matter. There's always something of what I feel passionate about is in each piece. So it's not that I love you or hate you. It's just very difficult for me to differentiate between my pieces. If each one has something that was worthy, that I really sort of at the time I thought, yeah, I've got to write this, I've got to do this. And Dellamort in particular, I love, I love a few elements in Dellamort. Characters I love, and also love and death. I love those themes very much, and I'm kind of obsessed by them. So, and I love also the characters in Dellamort, like the three in particular, because I know that you're part of the Lost Souls department or whatever. In a way, they're lost souls.
Yes, very much.
They're totally lost souls, and I like lost souls because lost souls have problems. They're not perfect. Each one of those characters has a flaw, has like has certain obsessions and problems, and that's what people have. Yep. We all have them, whether we admit it or not. Whether admit it or not, we're all a bit of a lost soul, part of us. Just as some people don't admit it. That's all.
And I think stuff like that just makes a character so much more interesting because they've got somewhere to go. They're not. There's nothing more boring than a perfect character. There's nothing more boring to me than a Mary Sue. I hate when I'm reading a fan fiction and the main character is a Mary Sue. They're perfect at everything. They have no problems, no issues whatsoever. They're uninteresting, and it makes me think of...
Well, they're also not real.
I mean, there's that too.
No one's like that.
Exactly.
Someone like that is hiding something very well.
A lot of skeletons in the closet.
Is hiding something very well.
Yep. But it makes me think of... I bought a copy of 1001 Arabian Nights, and there was a preface from like the 1800s, I think, from a guy who was originally gathering all of them up. And he was talking about how, in a lot of stories from the Middle East, the storytellers are very into the villains. Like, the heroes are very glossed over because they're these perfect characters. But the villains are the ones who they really kind of sink their teeth into in these stories. And it's because they're these flawed characters.
That's right, because it's the paradox. It's the duality. You see, a villain has a bad side and a good side. Because even a villain, let's say a villain loves his pussycat. He's got a kitten, and he loves his kitten. Mm-hmm. A villain is capable of love of a kitten, of a cat, or whatever, even if he kills someone, on the other hand. So it's that duality of the person that makes that person interesting.
It's very Jekyll and Hyde.
And that's... Sorry?
It's very Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, and that's what human nature is. Human nature has two sides. All of us have two sides. Mm-hmm. And that's, in a way, with Dellamort, I explore that. Even the Angel of Death thinks he had a soft side.
So, before I get to that question, on this similar vein, who is your favorite Disney villain?
My favorite Disney one.
You can tell a lot about a man by who his favorite Disney villain is.
I think that's a hilarious question. Who was my favorite Disney villain? Is it I've got to go through all the, you're making me now go through everything in my head of what I've seen to do with Disney. And is it Hook? Is it Hook? Is it, it might be Hook. Hook came to mind. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, he came to mind for a reason.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Hook came to, he sprung out when you asked the question, so I have to go with him. He wants to be heard. Mm-hmm. So Hook is an interesting character in Disney as well.
Très elegant.
You see, you've made me. I'm thinking very hard, as you can tell, and I'm so analytical, Nicole. I'll be honest. I'm such an analytical person that I don't actually look at things as villain and protagonist, good guys. I look at them as characters, and so I have a lot of favorite characters, and I've never thought of them as villains, particularly. You've made me have to think of them as villains. Interesting.
Interesting thought process.
That's really the answer to your question.
Okay. I like that.
Is the answer to your question is I don't look at the villains as villainous, particularly.
I like it. So, what's your idea of the comedic value of death itself and morality?
Say that again? These are really intellectual questions.
I know, right?
God,
this one's from the official page, so it says, what is your idea of the comedic value of death and morality?
What is the... I missed the word.
Your idea of the comedic value.
Comedic.
Yeah, the comedic value of death and mortality.
Excellent question.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wish I thought of that
one. My favorite. Now, comedy and tragedy are exactly the same, just looked at from a different side. That's all. They're just POV. It's point of view. So death is like an ultimate tragedy, can be looked at, is often looked at as that way. But an ultimate tragedy can also be looked at comedically. It just depends on the way you look at it.
True.
So, but so there's a huge amount of ability for comedy with death. Huge. Because it is one of the most serious and difficult things that every person has to deal with. So the way to deal with it can either deal with something, it's like a knife in your heart, or it's like you can look at it in a funny way, an ironic way, or a funny way. Because it's a way of, it's like gallows humor. You like have doctors. Doctors have you heard of gallows humor?
Oh, yes.
Right. So doctors often have such a wicked, dark sense of humor about amongst themselves to deal with the difficulty of their lives, of what they must deal with day by day. And death is part of that. Mm-hmm. So dealing with death, you can either look at it, it depends which way you look at it. My mind looks at things can look at things in a different way, in an absurd way, in a fanciful way, let's say.
There you go.
It's quite fanciful the way I looked at death.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Good. We have one more question on here. Fox wants to know, what is your favorite Disney princess?
It's got to be Courtney Reed. So she played in Aladdin. Look, it has to be Courtney because I've worked with her.
There you go.
And I love her. I think she's such a delight to work with. She was in Aladdin. She was the Aladdin princess on Broadway.
Nice.
So I'm going to have to say her because having worked with her, I think she is a delight. She's a true princess in every way that you would want a Disney princess to be. Okay?
Love it.
Just so who asked that question? Someone asked that question who's into Disney princess.
Yeah, Fox Sings asked it. So
I hadn't thought much about Disney princesses until I worked with Courtney Reed. I went, oh my God, she's a real Disney princess.
Let's see. I don't see a question, Scarlett. I just see that you commented that you didn't know that you could ask questions on that video, but go ahead and post it again. And yeah, I don't see it, Scarlett. So ask it again. In the meantime, I'm going to move on to another one of my questions, which is, how did you originally come up with falling in love with Mr. De La Mort? Like, what was the original idea that sparked it?
There's a saying in Australia called, how long is a piece of string? That saying means, it's like the most nebulous sort of thing. What the question really is, how does creativity work? That's the question that you're asking me. And it's an excellent question. Okay, like everybody, I'm sure, I think about love a lot, and death. I think about those two things because they're around. Like love in particular, I'm very, that's always been a challenge for me. So I've always looked at it, tried to work it out, and then also death. They're the two most perplexing themes in my life. Everything else I can read about on the internet or something, and it kind of makes sense. That I've had to accept it's a conundrum that you can never work out. It's beyond human comprehension, in truth, these sorts of things. So with that in mind, I wanted to create a story exploring it, really. So, because the themes are always in my head, and then the way I express that is I'm a writer, so I make worlds and stories, and I just wanted to explore it. So in a way I started, and this is what came out. So it's not as though I sat down and I went, I'm going to write this and then this is going to happen. That's not at all how it happened. I knew what I wanted to explore, definitely, so I knew that. And then I just started. And this came out. It told me what it wanted. And then we had to do a lot of rewrites, let me tell you, okay? It doesn't come out finished. However, that doesn't matter. It comes out the first draft, and you have to allow that. First draft, you have to allow that, and then you work on, there's something to work on. So, but it definitely told me what it wanted to say. But those two things really are things that perplex me. So maybe some of the people have answers for me as well.
Okay. So let's see. That's just I'm not sure if that's you're asking that question again, Scarlett, from the AMA or what. But Scarlett was commenting on the AMA. Someone asked what kind of pet Mr. De La Mort would have, and one of the answers was a Sphinx cat.
A Sphinx cat, definitely. The hairless cat. Because a cat with hair might sort of lose hair, like drop hair in places, and he would go crazy. But a hairless cat is perfect. They wouldn't drop fur anywhere. They wouldn't have fur balls, would they? No fur balls with a hairless cat.
A regular cat would spawn dust bunnies.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah. You would find a regular cat would find. Yeah, would play with them, swallow them. It would be very messy, a regular cat.
Absolutely. So let's go with, I've got so many questions that I wrote down here. I'm trying to pick the one that kind of segues best. Let's do this. What is your writing process like? When you sit down to write, is it always just the story tells itself to you? Do you ever, sit down and have a plan, or does it just happen?
Okay, so everyone is idiosyncratic in their writing style. Every single person, all of you and any other writer, the way they write is completely individualistic and their own way, which is correct for them. So my way, truly, is I have a feeling. So I definitely have a feeling. It comes from the emotion. I have some feeling that I want to express and something to say. So it's a feeling, it's something to say connected with a feeling. I mean, I can't, that's pretty vague, isn't it? But once I get that mood, I've got something to say, so I know what I want to say, more or less. Even if it's, I don't know anything about love and death. Okay, that's what I want to say. That's fine. That's a fine thing to say. Whether it's that or whether it's... I did another one called In Pursuit of Happiness. So what is happiness? You know, I explored happiness, what it is for people. So, and that's another piece of mine that was just, it's just got, I made an animation of that particular one. And so I sit down and truly the thing tells me what it wants. I can't explain it any better. Does that sound weird? Does that sound like I'm crazy? It sounds, I just sit down and then it tells me. I definitely have to have the feeling and have to know what I want to say. But those two things have to be very clear.
I am very glad that you said that, because now I know I'm not the only one, because I had a problem when I was in school and I would have to do a creative writing something, and I had, like I mentioned before, you know, you have all these parameters when you're writing for a school project, and my characters wanted nothing to do with the parameters and wanted to do their own thing, and I had a hard time wrangling them.
Individual.
Exactly. And my mother, who has a BA in English, couldn't understand why I had these issues. I was like, but no, that's not what so-and-so wants. And she was like, you're the one who's writing it, so you just make them do what you want. And it's like, it doesn't really always work that way, because they're not me. They're their own individual things, and I can't always put them in the corner until they behave. And so I'm glad to know I'm not the only one.
Try to break out of that box.
Yes.
And that, you know, characters love to be the boss.
Yes.
Of you. They love to be the boss of you. Mm-hmm. So in other words, it's not us writing it, it's the characters become the boss of us, of the writer. That's how I really look at it.
We're just kind of the vessel through which they birth themselves.
Yeah, it's through us. We start them off, and then they take charge.
Yep.
And they run for it. They go whatever they want. It's because you're an individual, Nicole. You're very individualistic with your own creativity, and you can't be put in a box as a person either, can you?
No,
clearly not. So neither can what you write, and that is 100% correct for you.
Love it.
You go, girl. You just go and you do that. Because that'll be absolutely right. 100% correct for you, specifically.
Love it. So I got some clarification on Scarlett's question. What she wants to know is what Mr. De La Mort would name his Sphinx cat.
Oh my God. Okay, let's workshop it. Come on. Since we're in a group meeting here.
Oh yeah.
Do I have to do all the work? Do I have to always do all the work? Let's do some workshopping. What do you reckon? I'm open. I mean,
something French. He would name him something French for sure, I think.
Something French is excellent. Good idea.
So I would think he would do something like ami for friend.
Ami, wait. Ami is good.
Mm-hmm. That's what
ami, or okay, mon ami. Ami is great. What about you see, it would be.
Scarlett says she came up with Thanatos because she hates subtlety.
Sorry?
Scarlett said she came up with Thanatos because she hates subtlety.
She came up with what? Say it again.
Thanatos, which is the Greek god of death.
Yes.
Because she doesn't do subtle.
No, I think that's perfectly fine. And
that's
not
a good one.
Know that anyway.
That's a very good one.
People know that. So you'll be able to check who knows their Greek. And it also fits in. That's quite cool. Yeah. That'll do. I will take it.
I like that. We'll go with Thanatos. There you go, Scarlett. You've just named Mr. Dellamort's cat. I love it.
You see, what I like is that when people put their own, they add their own ideas to it. I'm very happy with that.
Yes.
Because I like to listen to what people bring to it.
Yes, and especially, myself as a TikTok creator, people all the time are DMing me asking if they can make their own characters in my world. And, people asking, how do I apply to become an intern in Hemlock's universe? And I'm like, guys, just make your videos. Like, build on what I'm doing. Like, as long as you're not trying to claim my character as yours, you can build whatever you want in this universe. It's meant to be shared.
Right. I'm the same as you. I want to encourage people to just add to the world as they love, as they would want. Mm-hmm. And then because that's valid as well. And I'm interested in that. Because if it all comes out of me, that's well and good, but I don't know what's going to come out of other people, and that's exciting for me. That's very interesting to me.
It's beautiful to watch it grow.
Curious. Say it again?
I said it's beautiful to watch it grow, to watch a work just expand and grow. Yeah.
And to see what other people are thinking.
Exactly.
I'm very curious as to what others are thinking about and what's in their world and in their minds and stuff. So it's something they can add to. I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, and especially with concepts like love and death and, things that everybody experiences in some way, they're very shared concepts. So I've never understood the idea of, trying to gatekeep them.
And everyone has their own angle,
mm-hmm.
which is very valid. Everyone's angle is as valid as mine is. So I'm very curious as to what others have to tell me.
Yep, I love seeing all of the different things that people make and tag me in and things they ask me to duet, because it's always something interesting. And there was one guy, he wrote to me asking if he could do he sent me a little script for a video to do. And I actually asked if I could use that in my book, and he said yes. And so I incorporated it into a scene in my book, and it's just a little scene, but it's really fun. And I would never really have thought of it on my own, but it turned into this really funny little blip in the book. That's a great way to introduce characters and stuff. And I'm not saying that my book wouldn't have been good without it, but it's better with it.
Yeah. And that's very, the more open we can all be as artists, as people that make things, the better the piece is.
Yes.
Let's be open, to be open to ideas and to be open to others is how to sort of be an artist in a way. Artists we're open to the world, to the community. We create, because storytelling, which, Dellamort is a story, storytelling is a way of connecting, of creating a universe, creating a community, creating a shared experience, actually. Because, you see, I don't know who any of the people are, obviously, here. However, we've got one thing in common. We've all listened to Dellamort. That we have in common. So That's already connected us somehow. And that's the beauty of storytelling, of art, of books, of stuff of anything that people make. It's very, very important.
It's one of the things that make us human.
Yes, that's right. Love makes us human as well, which Mr. Dellamort found that out.
Yes, very much. Are sexuality headcanons allowed? I wouldn't think why not for either of our works, because sexuality is another important part of being human. So
you're telling me. What was the exact question? I didn't hear it.
Are sexuality headcanons allowed?
Everything, absolutely.
Yeah, and that goes for my work
too. More the better, in a way.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see, what other lovely questions do I have here for you? Okay. How is writing a musical different from writing a play, aside from the obvious one has music and one doesn't?
That's an excellent question, because it is actually a very technical question, and it is something I had to learn. So I'm going to tell you the story because you've asked. It's a good question for anyone who wants to attempt such a thing, which I encourage. Now, you may or may not know I'm from Australia originally, and in Australia I did study playwriting and script writing at like a school, a famous school there called NIDA. So I'm a graduate there. But we didn't do much musicals. We only did Brecht. I don't know if you know any Brecht. You probably don't. He's a German composer. We did very few musicals because the musical is a very American art form. The wonderful American art form that Americans have run with and have perfected, are in the process of perfecting. It's still an art form that's developing and going in leaps and bounds in all fantastic directions. So when I came to New York, I saw musicals and fell in love with the form. I became passionate about musicals, and the reason I became passionate was I started to see how difficult they were. They're difficult because you have to get the script right, you have to get the lyrics right, you have to get the music right, then you have to get the actors right, then you have to get it's like all these balls in the air that you have to juggle. And when they are right, it's transcendent. It's kind of magic. You created lightning in a bottle,
yes,
in a way. And I saw that. I went, because here in America, I went, wow, Americans are fantastic at this. They love it, and so they work really hard at developing it. So I joined a theater company here in New York, and they had a music department, musicals department. It was starting up, and so I asked if I could join it, because I was falling in love with musicals. And the first thing was Dellamort. I started writing Dellamort as part of this musicals department. Now, the most important thing that the American musical, I'm giving you all American musical stuff here, is that the songs forward the plot as well sometimes. Quite often. The songs can be either character songs, in which case there are some in Falling in Love with Mr. De La Mort. Rhonda has one, Mina has one, and Barry has one. They're all kind of about their characters. They give a glimpse into the character. But the rest of the songs, many of the other songs, kind of take the story one step further. The way we did it was that I wrote this thing like a play, and then when it was in certain heightened places, that's where I put the songs. I went, okay, because the songs then are larger than life. That's what a song does. A song is a moment that is larger than life. You can't anymore say it. You have to sing it. It's bigger. And that's how you write a musical. So it's very different. So when you do a play, there are moments that are larger. Well, it's interesting in a play to make something larger than life is in the acting, in truth. You have to direct it and act it that way. But with a musical, it's the song that's what it is, the emotion in the song. Have I gone on too much? I'm so going on and on.
No, that's perfect.
I'm sorry for going on and on. But it's a fascinating thing that you've asked that I had to learn coming here. The Americans, I'm an American now, a citizen. Americans taught me how to do musicals. So that's why I became an American, because I learned how to write musicals.
That's fantastic. I love it. So we do have another question here from Scarlett. They want to know, do only angels of death become mortal when they fall in love? Or does that happen to all angels?
It would happen to all angels.
That was what I thought.
All angels, it would happen to all angels. To love, in a way, you see, is one of the most beautiful human things. But the price of being human is mortality, isn't it? It is the price of being a human being.
Yes. There we go. Sorry, I had to get my light turned on. There we go. Okay. So no more questions over there. So we'll go on to one of my next ones, which is... So how did COVID affect your plans for falling in love with Mr. De La Mort? And do you see a future for more musicals in this format, in this kind of radio play format?
These are all excellent questions. So, COVID. I don't know about you guys, but I hate COVID. I don't know about you guys. It has been... What a time we've all had to struggle with. Our inner demons come out because of COVID. So the history of Dellamort is that before COVID, we were going to launch it as a production, a theater production, and we were planning for that. We had a venue, we were cast, everything was kind of getting set up for that. And then, as you know, COVID hit. So because COVID hit, then the producers and I said, oh my God, we can't, obviously theater was disallowed. What are we going to do? So we came up with the idea of doing this. I thought, yeah, the producers and I and Paul, we were all talking, and they thought, let's do it as a audio musical. Let's just do it, because we were already going to do it. And so in a way, COVID instigated becoming an audio musical. It was very difficult to make because of COVID. And the reason is, everyone had to set up a professional recording studio. All these actors had to set up a professional recording studio in their own home. All the equipment was sent by Broadway Records to all over the country. They weren't all in New York, they were all over the place. And they all had to agree to set up a professional, with all this professional equipment, which was FedEx to them. And then we did Zoom. We were Zooming, the director directed them on Zoom. I was there to change things if they weren't working. And we did and it was a really long process doing it that way. It was really, really long. So COVID, but we did it. That's the most important thing. So COVID forced us to do it. That's where COVID comes into it. Do I see, yes, what's happened is that other producers now and other people creating musicals are listening to this. This is pretty much the first one. Are listening to it, and it works. So they're wanting to do it as well. So I'm getting a lot of questions and stuff from other people wanting to do it, and I encourage people to do it. And it'll be a lot easier now that we can record in studios and things now. So COVID's not as bad as it was, a few months ago. But I think why I think it's a great art form? Because you can listen to it and you can do other things as well, which is great. Like if you're watching something, you kind of stop watching it. You can't really, you can a bit do other things, but you're more or less sitting in front of something. But with you could either have it on your headphones or just on a amp or something. So and you can do anything. You can clean the house. You can do whatever you want. It's fantastic for that reason, yes. And also because people are really into podcasts now. Like I'm obsessed by podcasts. So we're kind of used to podcasts now. We're really, really used to them. And it's kind of fits into that world as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like a full circle from the early days of radio. And I know I've made this comment several times, but it's very much like the old-fashioned radio plays. in that, you know, everything you need to know, you know by hearing. You don't have to see anything. So you could be completely blind and get just as much enjoyment from it as a seeing person. You can be, like you said, working, cleaning the house or whatever, and be enjoying it just as much as anybody else, as somebody just sitting, just listening to it. And with the advent of podcasts over the last few years and how they've become so quickly such an integral part of our lives, you know, I would love to see more musicals in this format, especially since, you know, traveling to New York's pretty expensive. Not everybody can afford to do that. Not everybody can afford to, even in their local cities, go see plays.
That's right. Let's face it. Seeing a play is expensive. Seeing a musical in New York is, first of all, coming to New York. You're 100% correct. This is a way of getting musicals, of getting theater out to everybody, and it's a fantastic way to get it out there, to get the art form into all over the country and all over the world. So It's not just America; it goes all over. People in Australia listen to it, people in England, people in Norway. That's the wonderful thing. It actually propagates in a really, really easy way. That theater it's expensive and it takes away the eliteness of it, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
Like, it's free. You downloaded it for free, so there's no excuse.
Yes. It just makes it so easily accessible to people because, you know, there is, like you said, there's a lot of elitism when it comes to theater and theatricals. Because, you know, like even here in Tulsa, you know, our PAC season tickets are incredibly expensive. And even just a regular ticket, you know, can be as much as $200 at our local performing arts center. And it's a prohibitive expense for so many people, but theater should be for everyone.
I 100% agree with you. I am so anti-elitist in that way. I believe, you see, theater and musical theater is a form of storytelling, and storytelling is just the most wonderful thing, and it must go to everybody. And everyone loves stories, like storytelling. So it's not an elite. Storytelling has nothing to do with elitism. People used to sit around a campfire in the caveman days and probably do it.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with elitism. It has become. You're totally right. So even where you are, theater is a bit elite. I mean, here there's different levels, but you have to be in New York, and not everyone's in New York. So this is the great sort of homogenizer. We all deserve to be exposed and listen to great stuff. That would be awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, like even there's a lot of elitism even within community theaters, because I lived in Orlando for like 12 years. And even here in Tulsa, you know, they form these community theaters. They start being open for everybody, and then they form these cliques, and you get the same actors always being cast, the same stable of actors, and the same directors always getting to do their plays and stuff, and it just becomes this clique of people, and nobody else can get in and get that experience and have that enjoyment. And that's the one thing that if I could change about all theaters, but especially community theaters, it would be that. Because, you know, it's just one of those things that everyone should be able to have that opportunity.
And that's why the digital world is a great equalizer.
Yes, very much.
It's because of the digital world, in many ways, like what you're doing. You know, you're obviously you're so intelligent. All your questions are so smart. Oh my God. Yes, your opinions on things are very, very important to be heard out there. I agree with you. I'm an anti-elitist myself, because I want to connect with people on a mass level, not just people who can afford to come to New York and go to the theater. Yes. So that's why I'm really happy. I'm really happy that the art form worked, actually, that the piece itself works. It does work.
Oh,
and
yes.
that's what I saw, is that it worked. I went, oh, okay, this is actually really, because it was just an idea to come. We didn't know if it would really work. We didn't really know at the beginning. And it does work. And so we're very pleased about that. It actually works as a form itself. And there'll be more of them. So if you read, and then people will start getting into them. You know what I mean? Like they'll say, yeah, they'll find ones that they like as well. Once there's more and more and more of them, it'll be a thing. So it's great. It's like podcasts. There's so many. You always find some that you love.
Oh, yeah. Wide variety. And I think it'll help open a lot of people up to musicals in general, because there's a lot of people who just think they don't like musicals, but might just be because they don't like going and sitting in a dark theater and being so stationary, I guess. Whereas, if they can listen to it and still do other things and get that other sensory input, then they might like it.
Look, if everyone has to find their own niche, their own taste. There'll be a musical that they love. Okay? Let's say it's some guy into sport. Okay. There will be a sport musical that he will find, or a play. There's a lot of plays about sport, actually. But he probably hasn't discovered them. Or a woman who's into sport, and I only like sport things. That's what they're into. There are plays because plays and musicals are stories. So there's stories about the thing that they're into. So you just have to find whatever it is the other person's into. Then they'll be passionate about the play and the musical as well, if they're into it.
Exactly. That's exactly it. I love it. So let's see. No more questions on the TikTok yet. So let's go with, what was your favorite film as a child, and why?
Okay, now that's as a child. How old would a child be?
Let's say 14 or younger.
Well, at 14, I saw this film it's an old film, called Midnight Cowboy. Do you know it?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
I haven't. I saw it at 14, and you weren't allowed to see it at 14. It's not a film that it's for 18 and over or something. It's really an adult film. But it was about a guy. It was a really dark film about a guy who came to New York and had to struggle and become a hooker and all sorts of really rough stuff. But as a kid, I just had never seen anything like that, and it just stayed with me. So when you say, so it's not Disney or anything like that, it was dark. It was a very dark film, but I thought it was real. I thought, wow, that's actually, there's something real about how that is, there's something truthful about in that film. I just saw that. I happened to see, it was on TV, it must have been on TV, and I caught it. But it's a truly adult film. It is in Australia as well. But they show films in Australia. It's less, it's less restricted, the films that they would show in Australia.
A little less on the way of censorship.
Yeah, there's less censorship there compared to here. So that's a weird, I mean, I'm just telling you that I saw that film as a young kid, as 14, and it kind of really affected me. And went, wow, you just can tell the truth in that. So what, okay, but as a proper, like a proper kid film, like being a proper kid. I saw on TV something called Jason and the Argonauts. I don't know if you...
The really old one with the stop-motion skeletons, right?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
It was on TV. I remember seeing it on TV and loving it.
Scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Yeah, but that's right.
It was so good.
That's the one.
Yes.
It was so good. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I just remember it had such an effect on me
Yes.
watching it on TV. And in a weird way, Barry sings a song, and it got me interested in Greek gods, Greek and Greek stories. That actually started my journey into like Greek myths. So funny is just because Barry has that song about Greek gods.
Yes, I was very interested in that. I was
also, it's not a kiddie kid film, but it was a really kind of stays in my mind even today. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I was very into the Greek and Roman myths as a child.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe because it was on the forbidden shelf in the house. I don't know. I pulled out a mythology book and ate it up and loved it, and much to my mother's despair, I pulled several books off of that shelf.
Fantastic. Because they're larger than life, that's why.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what that film was. It was larger than life. It
yes.
was like, that was truly a larger than life film. I like those larger than life things, you know. And I like other things. I like all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah.
Including, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's weird that was your favorite movie as a kid, because I had two favorite movies as a kid. Bedknobs and Broomsticks was my primary favorite, which is, yes, it's a Disney film, but it's about a witch fighting Nazis.
A Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Oh, yeah. Yes, I know that one.
So,
yes.
a witch fighting Nazis. So, you know, as a kid, you know, that's kind of a weird favorite movie to have. And then my other favorite film was Fern Gully, which was about deforestation and, you know, global warming and all of these things that are really coming into fruition now, unfortunately. Really, really kind of a heavy topic for children, but the movie made it work, so it was accessible.
There was Fern Gully by Yoram Gross Animation Company. I think I know the... I used to know when I lived in Australia, I knew the people, the animators behind that.
Oh, cool.
Who made Fern Gully? I think it was Yoram Gross.
I think so. Yeah, that was one of my favorite films.
They're great films. They're excellent. Look, you see, the beautiful thing about stories and films and all stuff that we see, and it really affects us, actually.
Yeah.
It really stays with us. That's kind of amazing, isn't it? Because how many, years ago you watched those films, years ago I watched my films, and they're kind of still with me inside me somewhere. I
mean, I don't think I've watched Fern Gully since my early 20s, but it's still very much something that I think about on the regular, especially with all of, you know, the global warming and the deforestation in the Amazon, etc. So it's still something that very much influences how I think, even though I haven't watched it in forever.
That's the thing. If you think back about, it's like what I said before, it sort of unites us. Mm-hmm. The experience that we all had watching these things. Because I know I also watched Bedknobs Brooms, and I also watched them. So we're united by having watched those films together. We didn't watch them together, I'm sorry, by having watched them in our lives, because they still remain in us.
Yes.
And it's the same with anything, same with Dellamort. So we're united because we both know that story, that particular story, and with everyone else.
And it gives us additional way to communicate too, because you've watched Star Trek: The Next Generation, right? Are you familiar with that TV show?
Yes, of course.
You remember the episode where Picard gets kidnapped by these aliens on this planet together, and they only communicate in lines from their epic poem?
Yes, wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And it's, you know, it's so funny because I see that in my daily life, you know. Something will happen and my head will go immediately to a TikTok sound that's popular at the moment, and I'll sing the sound, or I'll make the comment on the sound. And, you know, some people get it and some people don't, and it's amazing how that both connects and divides at the same time. Like, some people you really deeply connect with via stuff like that, and others people just, it goes completely over their head and you have to explain it, and then the moment's lost. But it's just a really interesting way that,
Yes.
you know, we start communicating.
Yeah, through communication, which is all we got, really. Communication means that we're not completely alone. Otherwise, we need to connect and to communicate. Otherwise, we're just all alone in the universe.
Exactly.
So the ability to communicate, whether it's through sounds, whether it's through stories, whether it's through films, is kind of helpful to keep us not from being totally alone in the universe, which is the other alternative to not communicating.
And is especially important in times of COVID.
Especially, you're totally correct. That's why I hated COVID as well. It was difficult to reach out. Made things challenging to communicate, and you had to face your demons. I had to face my demons anyway.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Like,
some
my
days
workplace.
the demons won, some days I won.
Yeah.
It's a battle every day.
Let me tell you, my spa that I work at got shut down because everything got shut down for 6 whole weeks. And I thought I was going to go in. This was before I started my TikTok and before I had all of that going on. If I'd had that, I would have been better. But as it was, I think it was day 3 of my furlough. I was still living with my sister. We were sharing a condo. And she came out. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning. And I was sitting on the couch on my second gin and tonic of the morning. And I just looked at her and I went, I understand now why all of the housewives of the 1950s were drug addicts and alcoholics. If you gave me a line of crack cocaine, I would do it. And she just looked at me and went, it's a good thing we don't have any cocaine then, isn't it? And I was like, well, didn't you say one of our neighbors was a dealer? Then she took away my gin.
You can truly understand that. It's like when you're looking for distraction. But you're really looking for distraction from yourself. Is the truth, because that's what we're used to. We're used to distractions from ourselves. So it forces you. Some good can come out of it. You're forced to look at yourself, and if you can do that, you can transcend and you can grapple with things. It's not easy, though. Let me tell you, it ain't. That's all.
Well, and the thing is, too, so as someone who was raised American and capitalism is like God in America, when you're suddenly not working and you're not earning and you're not being productive, you're not producing something, you suddenly lose a lot of your sense of self and self-worth.
Sure.
So I started making masks and surgical caps just so that I would have something productive to do, because otherwise I couldn't look at myself in the mirror because I wasn't being productive. And boy, that was rough.
But you came up with the correct solution. The solution is to make things.
Yes.
Whether you're making things physically, or you're making TikTok videos, or you're making a musical, or you're making an animation, or you're making a story. Whatever you're doing, that is helpful it's to make things for yourself then and for others. But you did the right thing. You physically made things, and also you made a TikTok world.
Yeah.
So whatever. And I after grappling with the demons, wrote things and made animations. Once I got sick of myself completely, I went, okay, I better, instead of going completely bananas, I will make something. And that saved me.
Yep.
That saved me. The making of something, getting it out, better out than in.
Exactly. We're supposed to make things. Humans are creative by nature. Like, we're supposed to make art. It doesn't have to be good art. And that's something that really makes me crazy is I'm talking to people.
It's irrelevant. That is only a question of taste.
Exactly. And I get so many followers who they'll message me and they'll be like, well, I want to duet this, or I want to make something for you to duet, but it's not, I don't feel like it's going to be good. I don't care if it's good. Create. Good is entirely subjective. Just make art. That's what we're supposed to do.
Subjective.
Make art. That's what we're supposed to do.
Subjective. Yeah. We're on the same page here.
Yeah.
The important thing is the making of it.
Yeah.
And it says something then. You're saying something through what you're making.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're expressing yourself. That's all that counts. Everything else is layers on top of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, do it. The important thing is just to do it.
And it doesn't matter if it ever sees the light of day.
Say it again?
I said it doesn't matter if it ever sees the light of day. Like...
Don't even think about that.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example. When I did Dellamort, I didn't know. I'd never done a musical, so I didn't know if it would go anywhere or do anything. But I didn't care really. I wanted to try it. I wanted to, as we would say in Australia, I wanted to give it a bash. I wanted to give it a go.
There you go.
And I really wanted to give it a go. I said, I want to try this. And that's the important thing, is to try, get it out of you, give it a go, try it. And that's the courage of doing that, of trying it. That's important. That's the action. Mm-hmm. Very important.
Yep.
And it makes it physical as well. So you've made something that's outside of your head. As you know, you can drown inside with your own thoughts. Absolutely.
Yes, you can. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But it's like with Hemlock, I never expected Hemlock to blow up like it did. Like, it was just an idea that came into my head. I wrote it down, and I thought, hey, this is fun. I'll make a few TikToks as a world-building exercise. I'll write a little script, like maybe a 6 or 7 mini-episode series. I'll bribe my friends with beer and pizza to film it with me. We'll post it up on YouTube. Nobody will watch the TikToks. Nobody will watch the YouTube. And that'll be the end of it. Oops. That's not what happened.
Well, no, congratulations, because what you discovered is that everyone is you, in a way. In their own way, they're like you are. We're all, it's a bit universal.
Yeah.
Your feelings, your thoughts and stuff. You realize probably that you're more universal than you thought.
Exactly. Like, I had no idea that it would resonate the way it did with so many people. And that it's a really bonding experience almost. Just connecting with all of these different people all over the world.
And also very honest. You see, very, very real. So being real is something everybody recognizes.
And it's something everybody needs.
That's the truth. Because that's quite rare. Being real is not that common.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's...
No, but because you're so real, people can see that you're real. And that's the one thing human beings can recognize. They don't see it that often.
Mm-hmm.
So, congratulations.
Thank you. It's definitely been an adventure, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it. And that was also due to COVID, then, you're telling me.
Yeah, because I downloaded TikTok over COVID, but I didn't post my first Hemlock stuff until after I'd already gone back to work. But I had already started following a bunch of people, one of whom was at Mason Denver. And his character, the non-binary demon receptionist in hell, was the one who actually inspired Hemlock. Because my question was, what would a social worker look like in the afterlife? And that was kind of the seed that started all of that. And it just kind of blew up and expanded. So.
It's fantastic. That you see, so COVID, even though we hated it, it forced us. We made Dellamort in this form, this audio form, because of COVID. You made a whole universe because of COVID. So even though we hated it, it actually, strangely enough, had some positive outcomes to our lives.
It's that silver lining.
Weird? It's so ironic, isn't it?
It really is, because I thought COVID was going to ruin my life, because I'm a massage therapist by trade.
We all thought that.
If you can't massage people, if you can't physically be with someone to massage them, you can't do your job as a massage therapist. And I legit thought that COVID was going to absolutely ruin my life, and instead it's expanded it in a way I never would have anticipated ever in my life. So it's one of those push me, pull you blessings.
Well, you're 100% correct. COVID took you in a different direction, and it's the right direction for you. It's the same with theater. Like, I thought, oh my God, theater's gone up in smoke. What am I going to be doing? But in a way, this art form is much more egalitarian, can go all over the world, is easy for people to listen to. Like, it turned out good. It's like, oh, it's correct. It's strange. But the most important thing, the lessons that we both learned in this, is to do something.
Yes.
We both did something, right?
Yes.
We both did what
did.
you created. You know, we had to do something. I had to adapt it to that. I didn't know. You did it. You did what, in your way. So if that's the lesson for everybody, give it a bash. That's always my lesson that I tell everybody. Just give it a bash. You never know. You never know. The universe will tell you what it wants. You can't tell it anything. You just give it a go. Yeah.
Yep. The universe will take you where you need to be as long as you follow
That's right.
the path. Yep.
100%.
All right, so no more questions on there yet. So we'll go to another one of mine, which, let's see. Okay, here's a good one. Who is your favorite writer of any kind?
Okay, I think because I really like script writers, so I like writers who write plays and scripts. I think the American writers who are like Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams, and William Inge and there's others, many others actually, many. They're my favorite. I think American playwrights are just amazing. I love them. There's a series called Best American Plays that I read in Australia, and I just was in love with everything I read. Some were comedy, some were dramas, but I just think that the American playwrights and scriptwriters, so that's also the scriptwriters of films, I include that, and also TV like Netflix or streaming stuff. They're brilliant as well, like Alan Ball, he's brilliant. Many things are brilliant. But scriptwriting, so that's who I love. I think Tony Kirshner did Angels in America, he's brilliant. You have so many here, and I kind of love them all. So whether they be in streaming, whether they be in theater, whether they be in film, TV, I don't care. I just find that art form of dramatic writing does it for me. It's like, wow, guys, oh my God, you deserve a Nobel Prize, each and every one of you. That's my feeling about when I see a great script, a great dramatic writing thing. I just am so impressed and so inspired, because then it's like, okay, they did something so brilliant. I'm going to give it a go. And even if I fail, at least I tried for the best, because that was the best. So I love that sort of feeling when I see something that works, it's brilliant, that I admire so much. And I admire a lot of things. I'm not the sort who just only likes, I only like Shakespeare. I'm not that person at all. Not at all.
I'm one of those people that I can't pick a favorite usually.
There's much good writing.
Oh yeah,
heaps.
It changes from day to day for me. Like one day I'll say, oh well, this person's my favorite writer, and another day I'll be like, oh no, I think it's this person today, and it just kind of varies based on the mood, because there's so much to appreciate from different authors.
Absolutely. So but the American writer, I'm into the American writer. I must admit that. I American writing is pretty brilliant.
Awesome. At least we got one thing right in this country.
That's right. The British have done okay as well, don't get me wrong. And also the Australians. But the Americans, you guys aren't bad at all. Yeah, you're good.
So here's one that's going to come a little bit out of left field. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Okay, yeah. And now follow up. TNG or original series?
What was the first word that you said? Sorry, I didn't catch it.
I'm sorry, TNG, The Next Generation, or original series?
Oh, I see what you're asking. Even though it's so old, I love the quirkiness of the original. I just love the vintage quirkiness. It's just so vintage.
There's a lot to love about it, that's for sure.
Something that's so retro. I just love it. There's something weird. It's weirder, that's right. It's kind of so weird. So that adds something to it. To me. Though the second one is also great, okay. But there's a weirdness that I appreciate. Because it's so from that era or something.
Yeah.
Like the Twilight Zone. I don't know if you've caught the Twilight Zone. It's on Netflix or whatever. The old series of it. It's like an old series from the 1960s. It's so weird. It's fantastic.
I love Twilight Zone. A few of the episodes terrified me as a child, but overall I did love it.
Yeah, it's just something about it makes me smile.
So, I got another question here for you. What is your favorite myth and or your favorite mythological deity of any religion?
My favorite myth. These are such good questions. What is this? I expected superficial questions, but these are excellent questions. Look, I actually like the myth of the Minotaur. Theseus of the Minotaur. Do you know that myth? That myth is that Theseus has to go through the maze, through the labyrinth, and fight the Minotaur. I find that myth to be a metaphor for what we all have to do in life. So I like it for that reason, as the metaphor of it is having to go inside yourself or outside in the world, and you've got to battle something, the biggest theme, your nemesis.
Yep. I don't know if I can get...
Everyone has their own nemesis. Everyone has their own absolute nemesis that they must battle.
Yep. I'm not terribly flexible, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get up for where you can see it, but... That's not working. I have a labyrinth on my foot. I couldn't get it up to see it. I'm not flexible at all. I have a labyrinth tattooed on my foot. Like a literal labyrinth on my foot.
Really?
Yes.
How wonderful.
And not like a maze labyrinth, like a true labyrinth with just the one path in and one path out. So, because...
That's a fantastic coincidence. It's just a very powerful story that we all have our own interpretation of it. Because we all have our own labyrinth. We all have our own Minotaur that we have to slay. And it's so individual. And you've got to find your own. Everybody listening or everybody in the world has to find their own Minotaur that they have to slay and not run away from it.
Yes. And so something that I love about that myth... Something that I love about that myth is that when I was reading it as a kid, there were two different versions in the book that I was reading. And so like they were the same up towards the end. And then it split and it said there's two different endings to this myth. Here's the first one and here's the second one. So it was not exactly like a choose your own adventure, but it was interesting to me that, you know, they weren't sure which one of these was the original, so they just presented them both. So with the one ending where Theseus ends up betraying his lady and leaving her on an island where she is found by Dionysus. And then this other one where he does not do so, where he takes her home like he promised and he marries her. So it's very interesting because you get that dichotomy in humans.
Choices in life. They're the two. There's always like choices that you've got to make, the paths that we can choose. So it's fascinating. And the same with the labyrinth. You go this way or that way. So it's kind of life. It's a metaphor for life.
And do you accept that outside help with the ball of string or not?
Yeah. I kind of like Dionysus, now that you mentioned. So the question was also which deity. I kind of like Dionysus.
I do like him.
Pretty cool.
He's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
I actually, spoiler alert to everyone on my live, I have a friend that I met in Florida, and he's on TikTok as well, and he's actually going to be Dionysus in my universe, and hopefully have a bunch of recurring TikToks with me as Dionysus. So I'm very excited for that. It's going to be fun.
It's fantastic. He's a great deity. So I do like him. And also, I don't know if you know, there's a Greek play called the Bacchae. I don't know if you know it. It's Dionysus is a very important character in that particular play. It's about a king who tries to bear having fun. And what happens to him? He gets torn to pieces. He gets torn to pieces because he thinks he can stop everyone from enjoying themselves, the fun part of their personalities, of their characters. He thinks he can stop that. But he gets torn to pieces. Because we're made of two things. We've got the fun part and we've got the serious part.
Yeah.
Where the duality is very important. We've got to have a balance.
Exactly.
So we can't be one or the other. It's impossible to be there. That's not how a human being works. You've got to have two sides.
Exactly.
Which takes me back to the beginning of what I was saying. I believe we've all got two sides.
Mm-hmm. That duality. I do have another question here from Scarlett, which is they wonder if Dellamort got made fun of by the other angels. Because at one point, they want to know if Dellamort got made fun of by the other angels at any point. Because at one point, Sue compares them to Trevor Higginbottom.
Okay, so say that again. I'm missing.
I'm sorry.
Only because you're not speaking into the
I'm sorry.
The microphone.
Let me try again. Scarlett wants to know if Mr. De La Mort was made fun of or bullied by his angel peers. Because there was a reference to Trevor Higginbottom, who was apparently bullied.
That's interesting. That's so fascinating that someone that I think he was.
Good question.
That question is so good because it's not something I've ever thought about for Mr. De La Mort, but I think he was, and that's made him a bit why he became who he became. Yeah, I love the question, and I love that you picked up on that, and it's made me think. And I had never thought about it before, but I think he was. Yeah. It made him more uptight.
Yeah. As someone who was very badly bullied as a kid, I honestly wondered that subconsciously, I think, as well, because it wasn't until I, kind of broke out of my religious indoctrination and stopped with so much with that serious side and started, exploring my fun and happy side, that I kind of, came out of that shell, if you will. And I feel like Mr. De La Mort never did that.
That's exactly. Mr. De La Mort's definitely in a shell at the beginning, absolutely. Yeah. And probably bullying and, did affect him. That's great. I love that idea. Yes. As the universe grows, we can explore some things.
I smell a prequel. I said I smell a prequel.
Yes, like that's really excellent prequel material.
Yeah.
Excellent. We're definitely interested in the sequel. So, but the prequel, I kind of like the prequel idea for that as well. Like it wasn't all beer and Skittles.
Yes.
Poor Mr. De La Mort.
Yes, I love it. So, another question. Let's see which one I asked. Okay. What is your best advice for newbie or debut writers?
My best advice is to do it. My best advice is to sit, or you can even stand, or you don't have to sit. Even if you say it, actually, and then it's converted to text, that's even good enough. Do it. But that's the most important thing. It's just start. And the other advice I have is do it as though no one is ever going to read it. So say to yourself, I am writing this, or I'm creating this. No one is ever going to read it. I'm not letting anyone read it. It's totally for me. And then do it. And then once you've done it, it's a bit late. Then you can say people might be able to read it. You might change your mind. But that's, so in other words, what I'm saying is I'm trying to say, be free as a bird. Allow yourself to be as free as a bird.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Do it for yourself, to be free as a bird. And then decide if you want people to read it afterwards. But yes, afterwards, let it sit for a couple of weeks or whatever before you send it into the universe.
I love it because that's kind of what I did with Hemlock. Yeah, I love it because that's kind of what I did with Hemlock. Like I just pulled the idea together and just, I was convinced nobody would ever watch the TikToks, which was why I posted them, and just kind of went with it and did what I wanted, and it resonated. So you never know what's gonna click.
You were free as a bird.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the most important. And that is a rare position to be in. That's where the best stuff comes out.
Yeah,
when you're free as a, when you don't have nagging voices telling you crap.
Yeah, you don't have those little anxiety demons in the back of your head. Oh.
Yeah.
So.
The voices in your head. Get rid of those voices in your head.
Let me tell you, the voices in my head are mean. They are mean fuckers.
Not just your head, actually. Everybody's.
Oh, yeah.
So the trick is to get rid of them. That's, write as though they're not there.
That's the hard part. Because for me, like, the book that I'm working on, if I'm working on just like my sketches, those come fairly quick and whatever. But if I'm sitting down and working on the book, my anxiety likes to percolate through. So I have like these systems in place, partly because of my ADHD and partly because of my anxiety, to keep me focused on what I'm doing and not on what my anxiety is telling me I'm doing.
So yeah, just again, the advice to you would be just no one is ever going to read this. It's for me. I'm doing it for me, and that's the only person that counts. So you'll and then you'll be totally free.
Yep.
Don't take away all the pressure. Take away every minute of any pound of pressure.
Okay, so Scarlett is asking if did Dellamort actually see the three as his friends, or was that just an expression of his mood?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Did Dellamort see the three as his friends when he called them my beautiful friends? Did he actually mean that? Or was that just a reflection of his mood?
At that moment, he has absolutely changed. He's flipped. And you know what's made him flip? Love. He's in love. You know how when you're in love, lose your head. Everything looks rosy. Everyone's your friend. Like you're in a great mood. That's what love does.
Twitter-pated.
Oh, yeah. So when he calls them his friends, he's just feeling love. You know, when you're in love, when you, I don't know about you guys, but when you fall in love, you change. It changes you. You're in a different mindset completely.
Yeah, I've seen that in people a lot. I'm personally myself, I'm aromantic. I don't experience romantic love, but I've seen it through my friends a lot. And you're right, it does change not just your perspective, but to a certain extent, your personality and who you are.
Sure. And it makes you more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that you don't change with other forms of love too, because every time you love someone, no matter how you love someone, it does change you. But romantic love, it's very different.
There's absolutely a million sorts of love.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. It's passion. It unlocks the passion in you somehow.
Yes. I don't know why it's saying
emotion.
A message there. What is? Oh, that's not what I wanted. Nope. Oh, okay, I don't know what that was, but it went away. Whatever it was. Okay, so I think this is the last one that I have for you. You've already answered that one, so check. Okay, so the last question that I have for you is, if you could choose any afterlife of all the afterlives available from all the different mythologies and religions throughout time, which one would you choose and why?
So, okay, you have to repeat it again because the sound went in and out.
Sorry.
If I could choose any what?
Any afterlife from any religion, any mythology throughout all of time, what would you choose and why?
What would I choose as my afterlife?
Mm-hmm.
Choose this life that I'm having, and I would choose this life that I'm having and try and do I want to say and do it better, but no, I probably wouldn't do it any better. I think this is my life and my afterlife. I know it's a weird thing, but you're asking me such fantastic sort of like creative questions. You're asking for my own specific afterlife. So yeah, I'm trying to be a better version of myself. And that's what I always strive to be, actually. I'm always striving to be a better version of me. So whatever the world is that I'm in, I want to be the best Jack I can be, Jack Feldstein I can be in it. Sometimes I'm not, sometimes I fail, but I'm trying to be the best. So it's not really the afterlife, it's really the person, isn't it? It's the more important in the afterlife to be the best person you can be. It doesn't matter where I be, it's me. I want to be the best person I can possibly be, my potential. I think that's what I dream about in an afterlife. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Makes perfect sense. I love it.
Yeah, the afterlife itself doesn't matter. It's me. It's who I am in that afterlife. The choices I make have to be the best choices that Jack could make. The most honorable, ethical, going positive. Yeah, doing my best. doing my best.
I love it.
That's important.
Yeah, because that kind of ties into my book a little bit, actually, your answer, because without giving too much away, a little bit of spoilery stuff, guys, sorry. Each life on the mortal coil adds a layer to a soul. And the whole point of the lives on the mortal coil is to become the best version of yourself. And once you've accomplished the best version of yourself, something special happens, but I can't say what yet, because that's a very big book spoiler.
Well, that's beautiful. That's a lovely concept, and it's kind of what I was saying. It's the best version. Mm-hmm. Is keep trying to be the best version of yourself. Look, sometimes you're not going to be able to do it because we're human. Being human means that you make mistakes as well. But as long as you keep trying, I think that's the important part. Aiming. So keep aiming for that is really important. That's what I'm trying to do. But I don't know where to get there. But I'm definitely trying.
It's like that saying, aim for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll still land among the stars.
Absolutely. That's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great to chat with you, Nicole. It's been fantastic, actually.
Thank you. I try and keep it interesting.
Really special.
Scarlett, it looks like that's only half a question, sweetie. Forget that last okay. I'm not sure what Scarlett was trying to ask there. So, do we have any more questions, guys? Or what? Let me post it quick if you do. Well, I don't know if anybody's going to have any more questions.
That's okay. I can answer anything on Discord here or something. They can leave some questions and I'll come back and answer them.
Okay, well, Scarlett, how about you post that question in the Discord? Because there is a Falling in Love with Mr. De La Mort Discord. And if you post it there, I'm sure he will be happy to answer it there, okay? Yeah, Scarlett's been trying to post questions, and it's just, they're not all going through. So I'm just go to the Discord and ask it there. It'll be fine, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we'll chat there. But listen, Nicole, it's been awesome. So you're just great.
It's been fantastic.
And I wish you well with
Thank you.
Your project sort of as well.
Thank you very much.
It's been just a great experience.
Well, it's been wonderful.
Started off, we couldn't connect. We were on different planets, but we found our connection.
Yep, that's the important thing. It's a good metaphor there. Finding your connection through the difficulties.
Yes, that's what we did.
Yep.
So awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much for being here. It was a pleasure, and I look forward to the sequel.
And I look forward to everyone enjoying. Tell all your friends to listen to Falling in Love with Mr. Dellamort. Tell everybody. And any questions or whatever, I'm very curious as to what you guys think. I'm extremely interested.
Awesome.
So I look forward to that.
Yeah,
Bye.
I've been singing its praises, so bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. And that was Jack Feldstein. I literally just did a Q&A with a Broadway writer. Y'all. That was amazing. That was so cool. That was so cool, guys. Oh my goodness. But yeah, if anybody's just now joining and missed it, I believe that they were recording that on Discord, so it should be available. They'll probably post a link to it on their Discord, which is on the, just a few comments up, Dellamort Musical, the official page, has posted that in the comments, so definitely go check that out. It's a lot of fun. If you have questions, post them there. I'm sure Jack will be happy to answer them all. And again, I'm pretty sure they were recording that, at least on some end, so you will be able to go back and watch it. And as soon as that gets posted, I will also share that on the Hemlock Discord, so you'll all have access to it. And I'll post probably a video with the link in the comments on that. So I'm just going to real quick double check my messages here. Oh, I completely missed 3 questions there. Oh. Because I couldn't switch out to it. Oh, well. That's fine. Okay, yeah, so it was being recorded for sure. Excellent. So as soon as I have that available, I will definitely post linkage to that, and y'all can check that out. Go ahead and minimize that. I'm going to put this away. Get my life a little bit organized here. Et voila. So, let's see if anybody posted anything else interesting. Okay. So yeah, as soon as I have a link to that, I will post that, and y'all can watch that and go back. And apparently I asked some really cerebral questions he wasn't expecting. So but it was fun. We had a lot of good chat, and the cats are all over my feet right now. I'm sorry, guys. Hey, Cosmic Creepers, do you want to make an appearance? You want to make a little appearance here, buddy? On my live? Say hello to everyone. Say hi. He's like, ugh, mother, how dare you? How very dare. I took him to the vet today, so he's a little bit less than thrilled with me. Aren't you? Yeah, he's a little less than happy. He got microchipped, so they had to stick him with a big old needle. Yeah, I know you didn't like that. Oop. What was that? Sorry, guys, that just beeped. And I don't know why. Down you go. Down, little boy. Oh, I got messaged. There we go. Oh, good, he's climbing that. That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, she got the, I think it was just audio recorded. I'm going to see if I can download this TikTok live, because I know they, like, save it so it's accessible. So I don't know if I can screen record it or what, but I am definitely going to try and get that downloaded. I mean, it was kind of weird because I was filming my computer screen, because that was how we had to do it. But if nothing else, I'll have the audio. And I will probably post that on the YouTube, since it's going to be like 2 hours or so. So I'll post that on the YouTube channel for sure, and I'll post a TikTok linking to that as soon as I have that. So y'all can at least listen to the audio of us doing the Q&A. So, anywho, so that's over. It's kind of late, so I got to start, winding my evening down, getting ready for bed, all that jazz. So, it was a pleasure having everyone here for this. Hi, my random. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. So anyway, yeah, like I was saying, it's getting kind of late. I gotta log off. So I will see you all later. Thank you for joining. I love you very much, and you have a wonderful evening.